approach techniques. One is called positive physical approach to care, and the other is hand under hand. And they kind of lead into one another, if you will. You do have, I forgot to mention, you do have resource cards, if you will, and you're welcome to take those. One goes through the gems that we've been through, and then the other card goes through the positive physical approach and the hand under hand technique. So we'll begin with that positive physical approach. And Erin, if I could so kindly volunteer you, or volunteer you, how's that? And so we'll do this from a standing position just for demonstration sake. But the same approach, and that would be useful like if you were in a situation where you had somebody that was in a wheelchair. The only difference is going to be that when I get into this one spot, you would need to lower so that you maintain eye contact. Okay. For the most part, it begins outside of this person's personal space. Now, for most of us, personal space is, any ideas? Yeah, it's about 3 to 6 feet. When people are here, that's a little bit uncomfortable. But if I'm basically, arm's length away, for most of us in most of our environments, that's pretty comfortable and okay, right? And so we want to start where we're outside of that person's personal space, so that they feel comfortable and we're not invoking any anxiety and that type of thing. The other thing that's just kind of more habit for me is where I just picked standing off center, because that's just it. But is there a difference even outside your personal space when I stand here to you?
To me, no. That yes.
Yeah, because I'm still in that safe zone. Depends again upon your situation and the person that you're interacting with. But when I'm standing directly in front, toe to toe, if you will, this is considered more of a confrontational stance. And particularly if I misjudge and I am closer, that person gets more defensive. Yeah. Are you about ready? Even though you know me fairly well, you're about ready to push me back. Yeah, I get that. I got that vibe too. Yeah, she's ready for me to get out of her face. So I start that, right? And you can kind of maybe think about if you're in your environment at work or you're in your environment in the hospital, do I want to produce more anxiety for that person, right? So just that natural part where even outside that personal space, I kind of judge it where my shoulders kind of midline chest. That's kind of how I started learning that. And again, if you practice it over and over, it becomes a natural, this is just where I come up to folks. Okay. Now, in most places, you're going to have to get a little closer, especially in healthcare, right? You can't do care, respiratory treatments from that, right? Yeah. So how do I get there, right, without increasing that person's anxiety? This is positive physical approach. So I start here, and usually I'll name, hi, hey, Erin, right? Something pleasant, all right? The other thing is particularly when I'm working with dementia, people living with dementia, use some hand gestures, because as that disease progresses, they're going to lose the ability to understand my speech and hear my words. But hand up as a hi is universal, and it's going to be recognized throughout most of as long as they're able to see it. Okay. So I put my hand up. The other thing is I kind of don't want to do a wave type of thing back and forth, and when they get really distracted. Particularly if I'm working with somebody with dementia and figuring out what's this thing going back and forth. So, hey, Erin. And I get this positive smile back from Erin, so it says, hey, okay. From this hand up here, I extend my hand out in her field of vision, open and palm up. So again, she sees there's no threat here, I'm not coming, right? And typically, a hand gesture as a handshake is pretty universal as well. And so most people are going to, right? Now, handshakes can be a problem. We know that really in working with people in healthcare, right? Because what happens if I if you're the
Coming
patient,
towards me.
yeah, and we're in a handshake, and you really want to,
Oh, that's true.
yeah, do you get stuck? Yeah.
A lot.
Ow, she's ow, right? So instead of the handshake, I'm gonna slide my palm of my hand into the palm of her hand. I wrap my fingers, and yes, most of the time they're gonna follow exactly and do that. Otherwise, I can kind of tap and help to cue them to put their hand around my wrist. She's giving me permission to come closer. If she doesn't do that, I don't want to come closer because she's probably gonna hit me, right? But this gives me that permission. It's okay for me then to enter into that intimate space. The other thing I want to be careful of, take it that you're right-handed.
Yes.
Yeah, because the other thing, when I reach in the middle, she's usually going to reach with her dominant hand. And so if she's left-handed, you probably, and I could switch up because I want to be on her dominant side. That's more comfortable. Right? And so that's the hand, or the positive physical approach coming here, and we just kind of naturally went into the hand part of it. But then this allows me a whole lot, if it's just coming into her naturally, but then the other part is I can use this hand position to help with care if she's needing it.